She stole my ring, crashed my wedding in a white dress, and tried to ruin my big day. But I didn't just fight back. I made sure her perfect life would never be the same. You think family drama is messy? Wait until you see what I did to Wai, my sister, when she crossed the line one last time. Stay until the end, because karma has never looked so good. The air in the banquet hall was thick with the scent of roses and anticipation, but all I could feel was the familiar sting of being invisible. I'm Emily, and tonight was supposed to be my moment, my engagement party, the one I'd been dreaming of since James slipped that ring on my finger under a quiet oak tree last spring. But there she was, my sister Claire, dazzling the room like she always does, her laughter cutting through the chatter as she recounted her latest adventure to a crowd hanging on her every word. Mom was right there, as usual, brushing a curl from Claire's face, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Oh, sweetheart, you're glowing," she cooed, adjusting Claire's necklace. I stood by the dessert table, clutching a glass of wine, watching it all unfold like a scene I'd lived 100 times before. James caught my eye from across the room, his warm smile grounding me for a moment. He mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded, but my chest tightened. Claire had always been the star, vivacious, charming, the one who could make even a grocery list sound like poetry. Me? I was the steady one, the planner, the one who made sure everyone else's dreams came true. When I told Mom about my engagement, her response was a distracted, "That's nice, Emily. James seems dependable, like I was marrying a used car." Meanwhile, Claire's every move was a headline in our family's story. "Emily, could you check on the cake?" Dad called out, barely glancing my way as he clapped a hand on Claire's fiancé's shoulder, laughing at some joke I didn't hear. I forced a smile and headed to the kitchen, James trailing behind me. "You don't have to do this, you know," he said softly, grabbing a tray of pastries to help. "This is your night." I sighed, arranging napkins to avoid his gaze. "It's fine, it's just how things are." But it wasn't fine. It never was. As I stacked plates, I heard Claire's voice drift in from the hall, bright and teasing. "Oh, Emily's always so good at handling the details. She's like our little event planner." The room laughed, and I felt my face burn. Little, always little. Back in the main room, Claire was holding court, her engagement ring glinting under the chandeliers as she described her proposal on a yacht at sunset, complete with a private chef and a violinist. Mom dabbed her eyes, whispering, "It's like something out of a movie." I thought of James's proposal, simple, heartfelt, just the two of us with a picnic basket and the sound of leaves rustling, perfect in its own way. But when I'd shared the story, Mom had just said, "Well, at least you're set now, Emily." Set. Like I was a tablecloth. Then I overheard it, the conversation that lit a fuse inside me. Claire was leaning close to Mom, her voice low but clear. "You know Emily's engagement ring? It's so quaint. I was thinking, since my wedding's in 2 months and hers isn't until next summer, maybe she could let me borrow it for the ceremony. It'd look so elegant with my dress, and it's just sitting on her finger." Mom hesitated, then nodded. "I'm sure she'd understand. You're her sister after all." My hand instinctively went to the ring, the one James had saved for months to buy, the one I'd cried over when he gave it to me. They wanted to take that too? I set my wine glass down, the clink louder than I meant, and a few heads turned. Claire's eyes met mine, and for a split second she looked caught, but then that familiar confidence returned, the one that said she'd get her way. She always did. "Everything okay, Em?" she asked, her tone syrupy sweet. "Perfect," I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. My best friend, Rachel, caught my gaze from across the room, her brow furrowing. She knew me too well, saw the way my shoulders tensed, the way my smile didn't reach my eyes. I shook my head slightly. Not now. But something shifted in that moment, a spark of defiance I hadn't felt before. Claire wanted my ring? Fine. But this time, I wasn't going to let her walk away with everything. The next day, I was folding laundry in my apartment when the doorbell buzzed. I didn't need to guess who it was. Claire swept in, her designer scarf fluttering like she was on a runway. "Em, we need to talk," she said, dropping onto my couch without asking. "It's about your ring." I kept folding, my hands moving, deliberately. "My engagement ring?" She nodded, leaning forward with that practiced earnestness. "You know my wedding's coming up, and I was thinking it'd be so special to wear it just for the day. It'd tie our stories together. You know, sisterhood." She smiled, like she was doing me a favor. Before I could answer, another knock. Mom, of course, holding a velvet box I recognized instantly. My ring's keepsake case, the one I kept in my dresser at their house. "I thought we could try it on with Claire's dress," Mom said, breezing past me. "It'll look stunning on her." My stomach twisted. They'd gone into my room, taken it without asking. You took it from my drawer? I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. Mom waved a hand. Don't be dramatic, Emily. We're family. Claire was already slipping the ring on, admiring it in the light. Oh, it's perfect, she gushed. It's like it was made for me. I grabbed my phone, texting Rachel, emergency, get here now. I haven't agreed to this, I said, but they weren't listening. Mom was adjusting the ring on Claire's finger, murmuring about how it complemented her skin tone. Claire twirled her hand, catching the light. You don't mind, right, Em? You're not using it for ages. My throat burned, but I kept my face neutral. Take it off, I said, my voice low. Claire blinked, surprised. What? Take it off? Mom sighed, that familiar, exasperated sound. Emily, don't be selfish. It's just for one day. The door swung open, and Rachel stormed in, taking in the scene with a single glance. What's going on here? She demanded, planting herself between me and them. Claire beamed, oblivious. Rachel, look how perfect this ring looks. On me. Rachel's eyes narrowed. That's Emily's ring. You can't just take it. Mom protested. We're not taking it. We're borrowing it. For family. Rachel turned to me, her voice firm. What do you want, Em? I looked at Claire, the ring sparkling on her finger. At Mom, ready to defend her golden child. At Rachel, the only one who ever seemed to see me. Keep it, I said, the words surprising even me. Emily? Rachel started, but I cut her off. No, really. Keep it, Claire. You always get what you want, don't you? Claire rolled her eyes. Don't be so dramatic. I'll give it back after the wedding, in perfect condition. I met her gaze, my voice steady. I hope it brings you everything you deserve. After they left, Rachel turned to me, incredulous. You're not actually okay with this, are you? I walked to the window, watching Claire slide into her car, the ring glinting on her hand. For the first time I am, I said, a slow smile spreading, because I know exactly what I'm going to do. Rachel's eyes lit up. That look is dangerous. I love it. What's the plan? I pulled out my laptop. How much do you know about outdoor lighting systems? She grinned. Not much, but I'm a quick learner. See, Claire's wedding was at this gorgeous vineyard, the same place where she'd once accidentally spilled wine on my dress at my 21st birthday party, right before my toast. The venue had this stunning chandelier set up over the dance floor, all twinkling lights and delicate crystals. Perfect for her fairy tale moment. Perfect for a little karmic adjustment. You're not going to, burn the place down, are you? James asked later, his coffee cup hovering as I outlined the plan over breakfast. Nothing dangerous, I assured him, sliding him a muffin. Just memorable. I need you to keep Claire's fiancé, Ethan, busy during the rehearsal dinner. Take him out for drinks after. That's all. He raised an eyebrow. Well, you and Rachel mess with the lights? I nodded. Trust me, it's just a little sparkle. Like my 21st birthday, but better. Rachel sprawled on my couch, scrolling through the venue's maintenance records. Got it, she called out. They test the chandelier system every Wednesday. That's 3 days before the wedding, so it'll be primed for the big day. I squeezed James's hand. It's not illegal. Just poetic, he sighed, but I saw the hint of a smile. You're trouble, and I'm probably insane for helping. My phone buzzed. Claire, texting about the ring fitting. She wants me there, I muttered. To show support. Rachel sat up. Perfect. While you're at the fitting, I'll scout the venue. I'm already on the guest list as your +1. James chimed in. I'll take Ethan for lunch. Maybe suggest some photos under the chandelier during the reception. I grinned. You're in? He kissed my forehead. I've watched Claire and your parents treat you like your second best for years. If this is how you take a stand, I'm with you. Just don't go too far. Promise, I said. It's just lights. Expensive lights, but still just lights. The next day, I sat in the bridal shop, watching Claire model her dress, my ring gleaming on her finger. She'd had it polished, the band adjusted to fit her perfectly. It needs more shine, Mom declared, pointing at the neckline. Maybe some rhinestones? Claire nodded eagerly. Genius. Emily, you don't mind if we tweak the ring a bit, right? Just some extra sparkle. I thought of the chandelier, of perfect timing, of poetic justice. Whatever you want, Claire, I said. It's your day. My phone buzzed. Rachel. Venue scouted. Control box is behind the stage. Too easy. I smiled. What's so funny? Claire asked, adjusting her veil. Just thinking about your big day, I said, my voice light. I can't wait to see how it all turns out. The night before the wedding, our family gathered at Mom and Dad's for a pre-wedding dinner. Claire, of course, was the center of attention, laughing about the time she borrowed my science project in high school and won the fair. It was my project, I said, poking at my salad. You just took it. Claire waved a hand. Oh, we shared everything back then. Shared, right. Dad raised his glass. To Claire, our radiant daughter on the eve of her wedding, you've always been our light. I set my fork down, the clatter loud in the sudden quiet. Emily, Mom warned. No, please, I said, my voice sharp. Tell us more about your light. Maybe how she borrowed my first boyfriend, or when she took credit for my volunteer work at the shelter. Claire laughed, dismissive. Why are you so dramatic? That's ancient history. My phone buzzed. Rachel. All set for tomorrow. You sure? I looked at my family. Dad avoiding my eyes. Mom fawning over Claire. My sister somehow both innocent and smug. I need air, I said, pushing back from the table. Outside, I sat on the porch steps, the same ones where Claire had once tripped and spilled paint on my graduation dress. Dad joined me, hands in his pockets. Penny for your thoughts? He asked. Save it for Claire's wedding gift. I snapped. He sighed, sitting beside me. When you and Claire were kids, we thought you were the strong one, the one who didn't need as much. We were wrong. I stared at him. And that makes it okay? No, he said quietly. It doesn't. He pulled out a check, sliding it toward me. What's this? I asked. For your ring, he said. I know you paid for it yourself. I saw the overtime you worked. Whatever happens tomorrow, you deserve your moment. I tucked the check away, my throat tight. Little late, don't you think? He nodded. Better late than never. Just be careful tomorrow, okay? I met his gaze. Don't worry, Dad. Everything will be exactly as it should be. The vineyard was a dream, twinkling lights, soft music, the chandelier glowing like a constellation above the dance floor. Rachel found me in the bridal suite where Claire was adjusting her dress, my ring sparkling on her hand. Everything's set, Rachel whispered. During the first dance, that chandelier's going to steal the show. I nodded, checking. My phone, James, Ethan's in place, suggested chandelier photos. Nailed it. Claire caught my eye. You're quiet, Em. Everything okay? Just soaking it in, I said, my smile tight. It's your day. The ceremony began, and I took my place as maid of honor, counting steps, watching the chandelier's crystals catch the light. Claire looked radiant, Ethan beaming beside her. The vows started, sweet and heartfelt, and for a moment, I wavered. Then Claire said, Ethan, I've always known what I want, and I always get it. I caught Dad's eye in the front row. He gave a slight nod like he knew. My phone vibrated, Rachel's signal. I shifted toward the edge of the dance floor, where the control box waited. As Claire said, I do, the chandelier's lights flickered, just enough to make a few guests glance up. Then, right as the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the system surged. A cascade of sparks showered down, not dangerous, just dramatic, followed by a sudden dimming of the lights, leaving Claire and Ethan in a spotlight of chaos. Her dress caught the sparks, tiny singe marks dotting the hem. My ring glinted as she flailed, her perfect moment unraveling. The lights! She shrieked. Someone fix this! Guests scrambled, some laughing, others rushing to help. The coordinator radioed for maintenance, shouting about the control box. I stood back, untouched by the chaos, watching Karma take center stage. Claire's eyes found mine through the crowd, her mascara smudging as she realized I was the only one calm, the only one not surprised. You, she hissed, storming toward me as the lights flickered back on. You did this. I tilted my head, innocent. Did I? Sounds like a malfunction. Like when you accidentally ruined my birthday dress. She stepped closer, voice low. This isn't over, Emily. I smiled. Funny. I was just thinking the same thing. The reception moved indoors, the chandelier dimmed but still functional. Claire, now in a backup dress, tried to salvage her fairy tale moment, but the singed hem and smudged makeup told a different story. Mom cornered me by the bar. Emily, how could you? She demanded. Your own sister. I sipped my wine. Her wedding's still happening, Mom. I just made sure she didn't steal my moment, too. Mom's face crumpled. I don't understand this anger. You wouldn't, I said. You've never seen me. Not really. Dad appeared, his expression unreadable. Guests are asking questions. What should I tell them? Claire's wails echoed from the bridal suite. It's ruined. My dress, my ring, everything. I shrugged. Tell them it's just a little sparkle. She'll survive. Dad hesitated, then handed me another check. For a new ring, he said. One that's just yours. I stared at him, the weight of years settling between us. Why now? He sighed. Because I should have done it sooner. As the music started for the first dance, Claire re-emerged, her backup dress less grand, but still elegant. She avoided my gaze, clinging to Ethan as they swayed under the repaired chandelier. I stood with Rachel and James, the vineyard glowing around us. You okay? James asked, his arm around me. I nodded, feeling lighter than I had in years. For the first time, I think I am. My phone buzzed. Dad, proud of you. Always have been. I smiled, tucking it away. The night stretched on, Claire's laughter a little forced, her perfect day marred but not destroyed. And as I watched her twirl under the lights, I realized something. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about claiming my space, my story, my light. But Claire's eyes kept darting to me, a promise of retaliation in her gaze. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The vineyard lights flickered again, just for a second, and I wondered what karma had in store next. The weeks following, Claire's wedding were a strange mix of calm and tension, like the quiet before a storm you know is coming. I went back to my routine, work, planning my own wedding with James, and dodging Mom's calls, which inevitably started with, "Emily, we need to talk about what you did." I'd let them go to voicemail, not ready to rehash a night that, for once, felt like mine. Claire, meanwhile, was posting curated wedding photos on social media, cropping out the singed dress and captioning everything with hashtags like perfect day and sister love. The irony made me laugh, but there was an edge to it. She was rewriting the story, as always, and I knew she wasn't done with me. Rachel, ever my co-conspirator, kept tabs on Claire's moves. "She's telling everyone the chandelier thing was a romantic surprise gone wrong," she reported over coffee one Saturday, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "But Ethan's asking questions. Apparently he overheard her ranting about you to one of her bridesmaids." I stirred my latte, picturing Claire's perfectly composed facade cracking. "Good," I said. Let her squirm for once. James, sitting across from us, raised an eyebrow. "You're not planning round 2, are you?" "I don't know if my heart can take it." I squeezed his hand. "No sabotage this time. I just want to focus on us." But focusing on us wasn't so simple. Claire's wedding had shifted something in our family, like a fault line finally, giving way. Dad started texting me more. Small things at first, pictures of his garden, a link to an article about wedding venues. Then one evening he called. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice hesitant. "Your mom and we haven't been fair to you. I want to help with your wedding, whatever you need." I stood in my kitchen, clutching the phone, unsure whether to trust it. "Why now, Dad?" I asked, echoing my question from the vineyard. He sighed. "Because I'm tired of watching you fight for scraps of attention. You deserve more than that." His words lingered, and when I told James, he suggested we invite Dad over to talk wedding plans. "Give him a chance to show up for you," he said. So we did. Dad arrived with a folder of venue brochures and a nervous smile, like he was auditioning for a role he'd never played. We spent the evening mapping out ideas, a small ceremony by the lake, string lights instead of chandeliers, a playlist of our favorite songs. For the first time, I felt like he was seeing me, not just the daughter who handled things. When he left, he hugged me, longer than usual. "I'm proud of you, Em," he said. "I know I've got work to do, but I'm here." Mom, on the other hand, was another story. She left voicemails that oscillated between guilt-tripping and defensive. "Emily, you humiliated your sister. We raised you better than that." Then, in the next breath, "I just want us to be a family again." I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to scream, to lay out every moment she'd overlooked me, but another part, the part that still remembered her tucking me in as a kid, wanted to believe she could change. Rachel, blunt as ever, had no patience for it. "She's just mad her golden girl got upstaged," she said. "Don't let her drag you back into their script." Then came the package. It arrived at my apartment on a rainy Tuesday. A small, velvet box with a note in Claire's looping handwriting. "Em, let's put this behind us. Here's your ring back. It's still perfect." I opened the box and there it was, my engagement ring, polished to a gleam. But as I held it, something felt off. The band was slightly looser, the setting tweaked just enough to notice. I called James over, and he frowned as he inspected it. "Didn't Claire say she adjusted it for her dress?" he asked. I nodded, my jaw tight. She couldn't just give it back. She had to leave her mark. I took the ring to our jeweler the next day, a kind older man who'd helped James pick it out. He examined it under his loupe, his face grim. "The setting's been altered," he confirmed. "It's subtle, but the prongs are weaker now. It's not secure." I felt a familiar burn in my chest. Claire hadn't just borrowed my ring, she'd changed it, made it hers, even in returning it. "Can you fix it?" I asked. He nodded. "I can restore it, make it stronger than before, but it'll take time." I left the ring with him, feeling oddly unmoored without it. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was James's promise, our moment, and Claire had tainted it. That night, I called Dad. "Claire messed with my ring," I said, my voice shaking. "She wore it, changed it, and now it's not even safe to wear." He was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry, Emily, he said finally. I didn't realize how far this went. I laughed, bitter. You didn't realize? She's been taking pieces of me my whole life, and you and Mom let her. He didn't argue, which surprised me. What do you want to do? He asked. It was the first time he'd ever asked me that, like my answer mattered. I thought about confronting Claire, imagining her brushing it off with a laugh or a tearful apology she didn't mean. I thought about Mom, who'd probably defend her, and the family dinner that would turn into another stage for Claire's drama. Then I thought about my wedding, the lake, the string lights, James's hand in mine. I want to let it go, I said, surprising myself. Not for her, but for me. I'm done letting her live rent-free in my head. Dad exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath. That's strong, Em. Stronger than I've been. But letting go didn't mean forgetting. When the jeweler called to say my ring was ready, I picked it up with James. It was stunning, restored, but with a new band, reinforced and uniquely mine. It's like you, James said, slipping it onto my finger. Tougher than it looks. I laughed, kissing him. You're stuck with me now, he grinned. Good, I like trouble. The next weekend, Dad invited me to lunch. Just the two of us. Over sandwiches, he slid an envelope across the table. Open it, he said. Inside was a deed to a small plot of land by the lake, perfect for our wedding. I bought it years ago. Thought I'd build a cabin, he said. But it's yours now, for your day or whatever you want. I stared at him, tears prickling. Dad, this is... He waved a hand, embarrassed. Just don't tell your mother yet. She'll want to plan a gala on it. I laughed, but the weight of his gesture settled in. It wasn't just land. It was proof he was trying, maybe for the first time. Thanks, Dad, I said, my voice thick. He nodded, looking out the window. You're my daughter too, Emily. I forgot that for too long. Claire, predictably, didn't take the news of my wedding plans quietly. She called me a week later, her voice saccharine. Em, I heard about the lake venue. So cute. I was thinking, since my wedding was such a hit, I could help plan yours. You know, make it really shine. I could hear the edge in her voice. The need to insert herself. Thanks, Claire, I said, keeping my tone even. But I've got it covered. She paused, then laughed. Oh, come on, Em. You don't want it to feel small, do you? I thought of the chandelier, the sparks, the moment I'd taken back. Small's perfect, I said. It's mine. She didn't push, but I knew she wasn't done. Rachel warned me to keep an eye out. She's posting about helping my sister's big day already, she said, showing me Claire's latest story. Sure enough, there was a photo of her, with a wedding planner's binder, captioned, Big Sister Duties, Family First. I rolled my eyes. Let her play her game, I told Rachel. She's not getting near my wedding. As the months passed, I threw myself into planning, choosing wildflowers for the tables, booking a local band, designing invitations with James. Dad helped, quietly funding pieces without making a fuss. Mom sent occasional texts, offering half-hearted suggestions, but I kept her at arm's length. I wasn't ready to let her back in, not yet. Claire, meanwhile, kept up her social media campaign, hinting at her major role in my wedding. I ignored it, focusing on the life I was building, the one where I wasn't the supporting character. The night before my wedding, James and I sat by the lake, string lights twinkling above us. Rachel was double-checking the setup, her laughter carrying as she bossed the caterers around. Dad was there too, helping with chairs, his sleeves rolled up. You nervous? James asked, his hand warm in mine. I shook my head. Not about marrying you, just hoping it's ours, you know? He kissed my temple. It's ours. No chandeliers, no drama, just us. But as we packed up, my phone buzzed, a text from Claire. Can't wait for tomorrow, Em. Got a little surprise for you. It's going to be unforgettable. My stomach dropped. Rachel, catching my expression, grabbed the phone. Oh, hell no, she said. What's she up to now? I looked at the lights, the lake, the life I'd fought for. Whatever it is, I said. She's not stealing this. James squeezed my shoulder. We've got this. Together. I nodded, a familiar spark igniting. Claire wanted unforgettable. She was about to get it. But this time, I was writing the ending. The morning of my wedding dawned crisp and golden, the lake reflecting, a sky so clear it felt like a promise. I stood in the small cabin we'd rented as a bridal suite, smoothing the simple lace of my dress. It wasn't flashy, no rhinestones, no cathedral train, but it was mine, chosen for me, not for someone else's spotlight. Rachel bustled in, her maid of honor duties in full swing, pinning a wildflower in my hair. You look like you're about to conquer the world, she said, grinning. I laughed, but my stomach churned. Claire's text from last night, got a little surprise for you. It's going to be unforgettable. Hung over me like a storm cloud. James was already at the ceremony site, helping Dad string the last of the lights. I'd asked him to keep an eye out for anything suspicious, and Rachel had recruited a few trusted friends to patrol the venue. "If Claire tries anything, she's got to get through me first," Rachel had declared, brandishing a walkie-talkie like a weapon. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that Claire's surprise was coming, and it wouldn't be a bouquet of roses. As I slipped on my shoes, Mom knocked softly and stepped inside. Her face was tight, like she was holding back a lecture. "Emily," she started, "you look lovely." The pause stung, but I nodded. "Thanks, Mom." She fidgeted with her purse, then sighed. "I know things have been strained. I just want today to be perfect for you." Her words were careful, like she was testing the waters. I wanted to believe her, but years of being sidelined made me wary. "It will be," I said, my voice firm, "as long as it's my day." She nodded, but her eyes darted away, and I wondered if she knew something about Claire's plan. Outside, the guests were arriving, their voices mingling with the soft strum of the band tuning up. I peeked through the cabin window, spotting Dad, laughing with James's parents, his ease a stark contrast to Mom's tension. The lake sparkled, the wildflower centerpieces swaying gently in the breeze. It was everything I'd dreamed of, simple, heartfelt, ours. But Claire's absence was conspicuous. She'd RSVP'd, of course, with a gushing note about how she couldn't miss her sister's big day. Yet no one had seen her yet, and that made me more nervous than if she'd been holding court by the dessert table. Rachel handed me my bouquet, her eyes narrowing. "Okay, Em, spill. You're doing that thing where you smile but your hands are clenched." I sighed, setting the flowers down. "Claire's text. She's planning something and I don't know what. It's like she's waiting for the perfect moment to steal the show." Rachel smirked. "Let her try. We've got the venue locked down. Plus I bribed the sound guy to cut her mic if she starts a speech." I laughed, but the knot in my chest didn't loosen. The ceremony was set to start in 20 minutes, and I was about to head out when my phone buzzed. A new text from Claire. "Almost there, Em. Save me a front row seat." Attached was a photo, a selfie of her in a white dress, suspiciously bridal, with a veil that looked like it cost more than my entire wedding. My breath caught. Rachel leaned over, her jaw dropping. "Is she serious? She's crashing your wedding in that?" I stared at the screen, the spark of defiance from the vineyard reigniting. "She's not crashing anything," I said, my voice steady. "Not today." I handed Rachel my phone. "Tell James to stall the officiant. I need 10 minutes." She nodded, already typing, then paused. "What's the plan?" I grabbed my shawl, my mind racing. "I'm meeting her at the entrance. Whatever she's got planned, it ends before she steps foot on my ceremony site." Rachel grinned, savage. "That's my girl. I'm coming with you." As we headed toward the venue's arched entrance, the lake shimmering behind us, I felt a strange calm. Claire had always played her games, but this was my day, my story. I wasn't the invisible sister anymore. The gravel crunched under my feet, each step grounding me. Rachel muttered something about teaching Claire a lesson, but I barely heard her. My focus was on the figure in white stepping out of a sleek black car, her veil catching the sunlight like a beacon. "Hey, everyone. Quick pause in the story. What do you think Claire's about to pull with that bridal dress? Drop your guesses in the comments. I'm dying to hear your theories. If you're loving this drama, give a like and subscribe for more twists and turns. Now, let's get back to Emily and Claire's showdown." Claire's smile was radiant, calculated, as she adjusted her veil and waved like she was greeting fans. "Emily," she called, her voice dripping with sweetness. "You didn't think I'd miss this, did you?" Her dress was a masterpiece. Ivory, silk, fitted to perfection, with a train that screamed, "Look at me." My ring, the one she'd borrowed and altered, gleamed on her finger, despite her promise to return it. She'd kept it, of course, and now she was wearing it to my wedding. I stopped a few feet away, Rachel at my side, her arms crossed. "What are you doing, Claire?" I asked, my tone calm but edged with steel. She laughed, twirling slightly, to show off the dress. "Oh, Em, relax. I just thought it'd be fun to surprise you. You know, a little sisterly tribute. I'm not stealing your thunder, just adding some sparkle." Her eyes flicked to the gathering guests, some of whom were starting to notice her, their whispers carrying on the breeze. "Sparkle," I repeated, stepping closer. "Like when you took my ring? Or when you tried to make your wedding mine?" Her smile faltered, just for a second, but she recovered quickly. "Don't be dramatic. I'm here to support you. Look, I even wore white to match the theme." Rachel snorted. "You're not fooling anyone, Claire. This is a stunt, and it's pathetic." Claire's gaze hardened, but she kept her voice light. "Oh, Rachel, always so protective. Emily doesn't need a guard dog." I held up a hand, silencing them both. "Take off the ring, Claire. And the dress? You're not wearing it into my wedding. Her eyes widened like she hadn't expected resistance. Come on. It's just a bit of fun. Everyone will love it. I shook my head, my voice low. You don't get to decide what everyone loves today. Not here. Not now. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. You think you're the star now because you pulled that chandelier stunt? You're still just Emily, the one who picks up the pieces. I'm doing you a favor by making this day memorable. Her words stung, but they didn't cut like they used to. I looked at her, really looked, and saw the desperation behind the perfect makeup, the need to be the center of everything. For the first time, I didn't feel small. Memorable? I said, smiling faintly. You're right. Let's make it memorable. I turned to Rachel. Get the photographer and the sound guy. Rachel's eyes lit up and she darted off, already, on her walkie-talkie. Claire frowned, sensing a shift. What are you doing? I didn't answer, just gestured to the security guard stationed nearby, one of James's cousins who'd volunteered to keep things smooth. Escort my sister to the guest area, I said. She can watch from there, without the dress. Claire laughed, but it was nervous now. You can't be serious. I'm your sister. The guard stepped forward, polite but firm. Ma'am, let's make this easy. Guests were gathering now, phones out, the whispers turning to murmurs. Claire's face flushed, her composure cracking. Emily, you'll regret this, she spat. But she didn't fight as the guard guided her toward a tent we'd set up for overflow seating. Rachel returned, the photographer in tow, snapping candid shots of Claire's retreat. For the album, Rachel whispered, winking. I took a deep breath, the weight lifting as Claire's white dress disappeared into the tent. The band struck up a soft prelude, signaling the ceremony's start. James appeared at my side, his face a mix of concern and amusement. Heard you handled a situation, he said, offering his arm. I linked mine through his, my smile genuine now. Just a little sparkle, I said, echoing Claire's words. He laughed, kissing my forehead. That's my girl. The ceremony was everything I'd hoped. Simple, warm, with the lake as our witness. Dad walked me down the aisle, his eyes misty, and Mom sat in the front row, her expression unreadable but quiet. Claire, now in a borrowed sundress, watched from the guest area, her face a mask of forced cheer. I didn't look at her. My eyes were on James, on the vows we'd written, on the ring he slid onto my finger. A new one, paid for with Dad's check, untainted by Claire's touch. As we kissed, the guests cheered, and the string lights glowed above us, steady and warm. No chandeliers, no sparks, just us. Rachel caught my bouquet later, hamming it up for the crowd, and even Mom cracked a smile. But as the reception kicked off, I noticed Claire slipping away, her sundress a stark contrast to the grandeur she'd planned. I let her go. She'd write her own story, as always, but it wouldn't be mine. Later, under the stars, James and I danced, his arms steady around me. You okay? He asked, his voice soft. I nodded, resting my head against his chest. For the first time, I really am. My phone buzzed in my clutch, but I ignored it. Whatever Claire had planned next, it could wait. This moment, this life, was mine. The next morning, Rachel sent me a link to Claire's latest post. A photo of her in the white dress captioned, "Sometimes you shine brightest when you lift others up. Proud of my sister." I laughed, showing, James, she's rewriting it again, I said. He grinned, pulling me close. Let her. We've got our own story. And as I looked out at the lake, the lights still twinkling in the dawn, I knew he was right. But somewhere, deep down, I felt the faintest flicker of anticipation. Claire wasn't done, and neither was I. The honeymoon was a blissful escape. A week of sun-drenched days and starlit nights in a small coastal town where the waves whispered secrets and the air tasted of salt and freedom. James and I rented a weathered beach cottage, its windows flung wide to catch the breeze, and we spent our days wandering hand in hand, barefoot on the sand, collecting shells and stories. We laughed over burnt pancakes we tried to cook together, danced to a crackling radio in the tiny living room, and fell asleep to the rhythm of the tide. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't looking over my shoulder, waiting for Claire's shadow to loom. It was just us, our love, our light, our life. But paradise, like all things, has an expiration date. When we returned to our apartment, the real world crept back in, its edges sharp and insistent. My inbox was a minefield of unread messages, work, deadlines, vendor invoices from the wedding, and, predictably, a string of texts from Mom, each one a variation on the same theme. We need to talk about Claire. She's upset. I ignored them, focusing instead on unpacking, on the rhythm of folding, James's shirts and stacking my books back on the shelf. But the weight of those messages grew heavier with each passing day, like a stone I couldn't quite shake loose. James noticed, of course. He always did. One evening, as we sat on the couch with takeout containers scattered across the coffee table, he muted the TV and turned to me. "You're doing it again," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "That thing where you pretend everything's fine but your jaw's so tight I'm worried you'll crack a tooth." I sighed, setting down my chopsticks. "It's Mom and Claire. They're lingering." He nodded, his hand finding mine. "You don't have to deal with them alone, you know. We're a team now." I squeezed his hand, grateful but uncertain. "I know. I thought the wedding would be the end of it. My stand, my moment. But it's like they're waiting for me to apologize for finally standing up." The next morning, I couldn't avoid it any longer. Mom called while I was making coffee, and I answered, bracing myself. "Emily," she began, her voice a mix of exasperation and reproach. "You need to fix this with your sister. She's devastated. That stunt at the wedding, making her change her dress, humiliating her in front of everyone, it's broken her." I stared at the coffee dripping into the pot, the steady drip-drip grounding me. "Devastated?" I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "Mom, she showed up in a bridal gown to my wedding. She wore my ring, altered it, and tried to make my day about her. And you're telling me she's the victim?" Mom sighed, that familiar sound that always made me feel like I was the unreasonable one. "She didn't mean it that way. Claire's always been expressive. You know how she is. She just wanted to share in your joy." I laughed, bitter and incredulous. "Share? Mom, she's been stealing my joy my whole life. My science project, my boyfriend, my volunteer work, my ring. And you and Dad let her, every time." There was a long pause, and when she spoke again, her voice was softer, almost pleading. "We didn't mean to favor her. We thought you were strong, Emily. That you didn't need us as much." I gripped the counter, my knuckles white. Strong doesn't mean invisible. The call ended with no resolution, just a vague promise to talk soon. I poured my coffee, but it tasted bitter now. James, who'd been listening quietly from the doorway, wrapped his arms around me. "You okay?" he asked, his breath warm against my hair. I leaned into him, the tension in my shoulders easing just a fraction. "Not really, but I will be." He kissed the top of my head. "You're not invisible to me, or to Rachel, or your dad. Maybe it's time to let the rest of them figure that out on their own." Dad, true to his word, was trying. He'd started showing up in small but meaningful ways, dropping off a crate of vegetables from his garden, calling to ask about my work, even sending a photo of the lake plot with a caption, "Thinking of you and James." It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. A bridge being built one plank at a time. Mom, though, was still tethered to Claire's orbit, and Claire was milking her devastation for all it was worth. Rachel sent me screenshots of Claire's latest social media posts, moody black and white photos of her staring wistfully into the distance, captioned with vague platitudes about healing from betrayal and rising above. The comments were a chorus of sympathy, with Mom's predictably at the top. "You're so strong, sweetheart. We're here for you." "She's building a narrative," Rachel said over brunch, stabbing her pancakes with a fork. "Making you the villain so she can stay the victim." Classic Claire. I swirled my mimosa, watching the bubbles rise. Let her. I'm done playing her game. But even as I said it, a part of me wondered what her next move would be. Claire didn't let go. Of grudges, she polished them, turned them into weapons, and I'd humiliated her, stripped away her spotlight. She wouldn't forget that. A week later, the other shoe dropped. I was at work sorting through a stack of reports when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo, a grainy shot of me at Claire's wedding, standing near the chandelier control box, my hand hovering over the switch just before the sparks flew. The text read, "Thought you got away with it, didn't you?" My heart thudded, the office noise fading to a dull roar. I zoomed in, trying to make sense of it. Someone had been watching me, someone who knew exactly what I'd done, and now they were threatening to expose me. I called Rachel immediately, my voice low as I ducked into a conference room. "Someone's got a photo of me messing with the chandelier," I said, forwarding her the image. "Any idea who?" She cursed under her breath. "Hang on, I'm zooming in. There's a reflection in the control box. Looks like a phone. Whoever took this was close, Em. Really close." I paced, my mind racing. "Claire?" Rachel snorted. "She was too busy preening for her grand entrance. But one of her minions? Maybe. Or..." She trailed off, and I knew what she was thinking. Mom. She'd been near the dance floor, her face unreadable when the sparks fell. Could she have taken the photo, held onto it until Claire needed ammunition? I didn't want to believe it, but the doubt gnawed at me. I texted Dad, keeping it vague. Did Mom ever mention anything about the chandelier at Claire's wedding? His reply was quick. Not to me. Why? I hesitated, then typed, just curious. Thanks. No need to drag him into this yet. But the photo was a ticking bomb, and I needed to know who was holding the detonator. That night, I showed James the text, my hands shaking as I handed him my phone. He studied the photo, his brow furrowing. This is bad, he said, his voice calm but serious. But it's not the end of the world. You didn't hurt anyone, just gave Claire a taste of her own medicine. I sank onto the couch, rubbing my temples. If this gets out, she'll spin it. Make me the monster who ruined her perfect day, and Mom will back her up. James sat beside me, his hand on my knee. Then we get ahead of it. Figure out who sent this and why. You're not alone in this, Em. Rachel came over an hour later, armed with her laptop and a fierce determination. Okay, she said, spreading out on the floor like a general planning a siege. Let's break this down. The photo's from a weird angle, right? Not a guest snapping a candid. It's deliberate, like they were waiting for you to make a move. She pulled up the venue's layout, marking where the control box was. This spot's tucked behind the stage. Only a few people would have had a clear shot. Caterers, staff, or someone who knew exactly where to stand. I nodded, my mind flashing to the wedding, the chaos of the sparks, the guests' gasps. Mom was close, I said quietly. She was by the bar, maybe 10 feet away. Rachel's eyes narrowed. You think she'd do that? Snap a photo to use against you? I shrugged, the weight of it pressing on my chest. I don't know. She's always chosen Claire. Maybe this was her way of protecting her. James shook his head. Or it's someone else entirely. One of Claire's friends, maybe, looking to curry favor. Rachel tapped her laptop, pulling up Claire's social media. Let's check her bridesmaids' accounts. If one of them was lurking, they might have posted something from that night. We spent hours scrolling through photos, cross-referencing timestamps and backgrounds. Nothing definitive, but one name kept popping up. Vanessa, Claire's best friend since college, who'd been glued to her side at the wedding. Her posts were vague but pointed, quotes about loyalty and exposing the truth. Rachel leaned back, triumphant. Bingo! Vanessa's our shutterbug. Bet Claire put her up to it. I wasn't so sure. Vanessa was loyal, but she wasn't subtle. This felt colder, more calculated, like Mom. The next day, I took a risk. I called Mom, keeping my voice light. Hey, I was thinking about Claire's wedding, I said, stirring my coffee as I spoke. That chandelier thing was wild, huh? Did you see anything weird that night? There was a pause, too long to be casual. Weird, she said, her tone guarded. No, just a lot of chaos. Why do you ask? My pulse quickened. Just reminiscing. Someone mentioned a photo floating around. Thought you might have seen it. Another pause. I don't know anything about a photo, she said too quickly. I need to go, Emily. Let's talk later. The line went dead, and I stared at my phone, certainty settling like a stone. She knew. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I focused on damage control. Rachel suggested hiring a private investigator to trace the unknown number, but James vetoed it. Too expensive, and it'll escalate things, he said. Let's try talking to Claire first. Feel her out. I wasn't thrilled about facing her, but he was right. If Claire was behind this, she'd slip up eventually. She always did. We invited Claire and Ethan over for dinner, framing it as a post-wedding catch-up. Claire arrived in a cloud of perfume and charm, Ethan trailing behind with a bottle of wine. This place is so cozy, she gushed, hugging me like we were best friends. I forced a smile, my eyes flicking to the ring on her finger. Not mine anymore, but a new one, flashier. Ethan, oblivious to the tension, chatted about their honeymoon in Bali, while James played the perfect host, passing out appetizers. Halfway through dinner, I steered the conversation to the wedding. Your big day was unforgettable, I said, watching Claire closely. That chandelier moment, wild, right? Almost like someone planned it. Her fork paused midair, her smile tightening. Oh, totally wild, she said, her voice a shade too bright. Just a fluke, though. Venues, you know? Ethan nodded, but his eyes darted to her, like he sensed something off. I pressed further. Funny thing, I got a weird text the other day. A photo from that night, near the chandelier. Any idea who'd send something like that? Claire's laugh was sharp, like glass. A photo? Sounds like someone's stirring up drama. You know how people love to gossip. But her hand trembled, slightly as she reached for her wine, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. Ethan frowned, looking between us. What kind of photo? He asked. I shrugged, keeping my tone casual. Just a candid. Thought it might be one of your friends, Claire. Vanessa, maybe? Her eyes flashed, but she recovered quickly. Vanessa? No way. She's too busy planning her own wedding to play paparazzi. The rest of the dinner passed in a haze of small talk, but the air was thick with unspoken accusations. As Claire and Ethan left, she hugged me again, her grip a little too tight. "Let's not let silly photos ruin our sisterhood, okay?" she whispered. I nodded, but my mind was already racing. She knew about the photo. Maybe not the sender, but enough to be rattled. And Ethan's confusion told me she hadn't looped him in. That was a crack I could work with. Later, Rachel and James debriefed with me over coffee. "She's rattled," Rachel said, grinning. "You saw her face when you mentioned Vanessa. She's either in on it or scared someone's acting without her script." James nodded, but his expression was cautious. "Be careful, Em. If Claire's cornered, she'll lash out. And if your mom's involved," he didn't finish, but he didn't need to. Mom's silent. Her quick hang-up loomed large. The next day, I went to Dad's house, needing his perspective. He was in the garden, pruning roses, his hands steady despite the thorns. "Mom's hiding something," I said, cutting to the chase. "I think she took a photo at Claire's wedding, one that could make me look bad." Dad set down his shears, his face unreadable. "Your mother's always been protective of Claire," he said carefully. "But I can't see her doing something that sneaky. Not to you." I showed him the photo on my phone, and his brow furrowed. "That's deliberate," he said. "Someone wanted to catch you in the act." He hesitated, then added, "Talk to her, Emily, face to face. She's your mother. She owes you the truth." I took his advice, driving to Mom's the next morning. She was in the kitchen, baking, the air sweet with cinnamon. "Emily," she said, startled, wiping flour from her hand. "I wasn't expecting you." I didn't sit, didn't take the offered coffee. "Did you take a photo of me at Claire's wedding?" I asked, my voice steady. "One by the chandelier right before the sparks?" Her eyes widened, and for a moment I saw it. Guilt, raw and undeniable. I didn't mean to," she stammered. "I was just taking pictures of the venue, and I saw you, and I didn't know what you were doing." "You didn't know?" I said, my voice rising. "You saw me by the control box, took a photo, and kept it. And now it's being used to threaten me. Did you give it to Claire?" She shook her head, tears welling. "No, I showed it to her, yes. But I didn't think I just wanted her to know you weren't perfect either." The words hit like a slap. "Not perfect?" I echoed. "Mom, you've spent my whole life making me feel like I'm not enough. And now you're sabotaging me to prop her up?" Amor reached for me, but I stepped back. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought if Claire saw you weren't always the good one, she'd feel better about herself." I stared at her, the woman who'd tucked me in, who'd cheered at my graduations, who'd let me fade into Claire's shadow. "You don't get it," I said. "This isn't about Claire feeling better. It's about you choosing her, every time." I turned to leave, but her voice stopped me. "Emily, wait. I'll talk to Claire. I'll fix this." I didn't turn around. "Fix yourself first," I said, and walked out. The drive home was a blur, anger and hurt warring in my chest. When I told James and Rachel, they were furious, but not surprised. "Your mom's been enabling Claire forever," Rachel said. "This is just the first time she got caught?" James pulled me close. "What do you want to do now?" I thought about the photo, Claire's smug smile, Mom's tears. "I want to end this," I said. "Not with sparks or stunts, but with the truth." The next day, I invited Claire to a neutral spot, a quiet cafe, just the two of us. She arrived late, her hair perfect, her smile practiced. This is so sweet," she said, sliding into the booth. "A sister date." I didn't smile back. "Who sent the photo, Claire?" Her eyes flickered, but she played innocent. "Photo? Oh, that silly chandelier thing? I told you, probably some guest." I leaned forward, my voice low. "Mom took it. She showed you. And now it's being used to scare me. If it wasn't you, who was it?" For the first time, Claire looked genuinely thrown. "Mom, she wouldn't." But the doubt in her voice told me she wasn't sure. I pressed on. "You've taken everything from me my whole life. My moments, my things, my voice. I'm done. If you're behind this, admit it. If not, help me find out who is." She stared at me, her mask slipping, and for a moment, I saw the sister I'd once idolized, the one who'd shared secrets with me under the covers. "I didn't send it," she said finally. "But I knew about the photo. I told Vanessa to keep an eye on you. I didn't think she'd go this far." The admission hung between us, heavy and raw. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why can't you just let me have something?" She looked away, her fingers twisting her new ring. "Because you always seemed so together, like you didn't need the spotlight." I did. It wasn't an apology, but it was the closest I'd ever get. I stood, leaving my coffee untouched. "Figure out who sent that text, Claire, or I will." and you won't like how it ends. Back home, I felt lighter, like I'd shed a layer of armor I didn't need anymore. James and Rachel were waiting, ready to plot the next move, but I shook my head. I'm giving her a chance, I said. Not because she deserves it, but because I'm done letting her define me. Rachel raised an eyebrow. You're going soft on me. I laughed, the sound freer than it had been in weeks. Not soft, just ready to live my life. Days later, Claire texted, "It was Vanessa. She's sorry. Won't happen again." No details, no groveling, but it was enough. I didn't respond. Instead, I booked a weekend getaway with James, just the two of us, to the lake where we'd married. As we sat by the water, the string lights twinkling above, I realized something. The photo, the drama, the years of being second, it didn't own me anymore. Claire would always be Claire. Mom would always struggle, but I was Emily, strong, seen and finally free. And as James pulled me close, the stars bright above us, I knew that whatever came next, I'd write my own ending. The lake sparkled under the moon, James's arm warm around me. Claire's drama felt distant, a fading echo. Mom called, apologetic, promising change. I listened, skeptical but open. Dad sent a photo of his roses, captioned, "For you." Small steps, but real. Claire stayed quiet, her posts less flashy. Vanessa's apology came via text, curt and insincere. I ignored it. Rachel grinned. "She's scared of you now." I laughed, feeling light. Work hummed along, our apartment a cozy haven. James planned a surprise dinner, candles flickering. "To us," he toasted. I smiled, whole. One evening, a package arrived. No note, just a small box. Inside, my old ring, restored with a new engraving, yours, Claire's handwriting. I stared, conflicted, then set it aside. "Not mine anymore," I told James. He nodded, kissing me. The phone buzzed. Mom again. "Family dinner?" she asked, tentative. I hesitated, then agreed. "My terms," I said. She sighed, relieved. "Of course." At the lake again, I stood alone, wind soft. Claire's shadow was gone. I was enough. James joined me, hand in mine. "Ready?" he asked. I nodded. Always. The family dinner loomed like a test I hadn't studied for, but I walked into Mom and Dad's house. With my head high, James at my side. The familiar scent of rosemary and roasted chicken filled the air, but the atmosphere was different. Tentative, like everyone was tiptoeing around broken glass. Mom greeted me with a nervous hug, her smile too bright. "Emily, you look radiant," she said, and for once it didn't feel like a comparison to Claire. Dad clapped James on the shoulder, offering him a beer, his eyes catching mine with a quiet pride. Claire was already there, perched at the dining table, her usual sparkle dimmed. Ethan sat beside her, scrolling on his phone, oblivious to the tension. I took my seat, the same one I'd had since childhood, but it felt different now, like I was claiming it, not just filling it. Mom bustled in with a platter, her chatter filling the silence. "I made your favorite, Emily. Lemon herb chicken. Remember when you used to beg for it?" I nodded, a flicker of warmth cutting through my guard. "Yeah, I do." Claire's eyes met mine, her expression unreadable. She hadn't spoken yet, and I wondered if she'd brought the ring as a peace offering or a challenge. Dinner began, forks clinking, small talk circling safe topics. Dad's garden, James's new project, at work. But the weight of the past hung heavy, and I could tell Mom was itching to address it. Finally, as she passed the mashed potatoes, she cleared her throat. "Emily, I owe you an apology," she said, her voice unsteady. We didn't see you, not the way we should have. I'm trying to do better." Dad nodded, his hand resting on hers. Claire shifted, her gaze fixed on her plate. I took a sip of water, steadying myself. "I hear you, Mom, but trying isn't enough. You let Claire take pieces of me for years and you didn't stop her. That photo at her wedding, you took it to make her feel better, not to protect me." Mom's face crumpled, but she didn't argue. Claire's head snapped up, her voice sharp. "You're still on about that? I gave your ring back, Em." I said sorry. Ethan glanced at her, surprised, like he was seeing a crack in her armor. "Sorry doesn't erase it," I said, calm but firm. "You took my moment, my story, over and over. The ring was just the latest." James squeezed my knee under the table, grounding me. Claire's eyes flashed, but she didn't snap back. Instead, she leaned back, arms crossed. "You think you're the only one who struggled? You always had it together, Emily." I had to fight to be seen. I stared at her, the sister I'd envied and resented, and saw something new, fear, not just arrogance. "We both fought," I said, "but you fought by taking. I'm done letting you." The room went quiet, the truth settling like dust. Dad broke the silence, his voice soft. "Enough fighting, both of you. We're family." Let's start acting like it. The rest of the meal passed in uneasy peace, the conversation lighter but strained. As we cleared the table, Claire lingered, helping me stack plates in the kitchen. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, her voice low, almost genuine. "Not always." I met her gaze, searching for the sister I'd once known. Then, "Stop trying to outshine me," I said. "Let me have my light." She nodded just once and walked away. Later, driving home, James turned to me. "You okay?" I smiled, the knot in my chest loosening. "Yeah." I said what I needed to. "That's enough for now." He grinned, his hand warm in mine. "You're a force, Emily." I laughed, feeling it. Strong, seen, steady. The next week, life settled into a new rhythm. Work was busy but fulfilling. My desk piled with projects I loved. Rachel dropped by with coffee, her gossip about Claire's latest subdued post making us both laugh. "She's laying low," Rachel said, smirking. "You scared her straight." I rolled my eyes, but the thought lingered. Maybe, just maybe, Claire was rethinking her game. Mom called more, her apologies evolving into questions about my life, my plans. I answered cautiously, building trust one call at a time. Dad sent a package, a photo album of my wedding, each picture a reminder of the day I'd claimed. A note tucked inside read, "You've always been our light too." I teared up, showing James, who pulled me close. "They're learning," he said. "And you're teaching them." One evening, I found the box with Claire's ring on a shelf, untouched since it arrived. I opened it, the engraving, "Yours," glinting in the lamplight. It wasn't mine, not anymore, but it wasn't hers either. I mailed it to a jeweler, asking them to melt it down, donate the materials to a charity auction. The reply came a week later. The proceeds would fund a scholarship for young women. I smiled, closing the email. A piece of the past, transformed into someone else's future. At the lake that weekend, James and I walked the shore, the water lapping softly. The plot Dad had given us stretched before us, a blank canvas for dreams. A home, maybe, or a garden. "What's next?" James asked, his eyes bright. I looked at the horizon, the stars just beginning to emerge. "Everything," I said, and meant it. Claire's shadow was gone, Mom's apologies a work in progress, Dad's love a quiet constant. I was Emily, whole, bright, and ready for whatever came next.
Wow. Emily's showdown with Claire at that lakeside wedding was pure fire, wasn't it? From chandelier sparks to that bold move with the ring, she finally claimed her spotlight. But will Claire let it go? Or is another twist coming? If you love this juicy family drama, there's another story packed with secrets and sweet revenge waiting for you. Click the video on screen now to dive into more heart-pounding betrayals and epic comebacks. You won't want to miss it.